Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the comic book review series. And today I am going to be talking about issue 1 of Superman 78, The Metal Curtain. So, just like in the title, for those of you who are familiar with it, Superman 78 is a comic book tie-in series to the classic Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner Superman movies and its universe. And after making a successful first series of 6 issues, which featured the appearance of Brainiac as the main villain, Superman 78 returns for a second series, and this story arc is called The Metal Curtain. And issue 1 is already off to an epic and interesting start, mainly because it has hinted at who is going to be the main villain for this series. And for those of you who have already read this issue, you know who the main villain is going to be, and he poses as quite a physical threat to Superman. So let's have a look at what goes down in Superman 78, The Metal Curtain. So we see planet Krypton, just like in Superman 1. And we see, after Krypton has exploded, we see the Kryptonite has landed on Earth. And it looks like it's landed in Russia. Hmm. Most interesting. So here we are. This sees the prologue decades later. So Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, takes place months after the events of the first series, and it's off to a good start already. I love the artwork. You know, how they made Lois Lane's likeness look exactly like Margot Kidder. Tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. And as usual, it wouldn't be a Superman story without Lois getting herself into yet another sticky jam. Go figure. Look at that. It's just never gets old. I love the artwork. It looks exactly like Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder. Great stuff. Even as I'm reading this and showing it, I can actually hear John Williams' Superman theme playing in my head while I'm looking at this. Great. Brilliant. As you can see there. Yeah. So this story arc pretty much shows a kryptonite crystal has landed on Earth in Russia. So how that's going to play out, time will tell. Look at that. Looks just like Jackie Cooper, who plays Perry White. Quite hard to believe that most of the cast of the Superman movies, they're no longer with us. So here is the meat and potatoes, as I would say. There's Moscow. So we see the Russian government, obviously have plans. So they've got hold of the kryptonite crystal that we saw at the beginning of issue 1. So they see Superman as a threat. And it looks like we are going to get Metallo as the main villain in this universe. Now, for those of you who know Metallo, Metallo is a Superman villain that's been around in the comic books since the 50s, and he's a cyborg powered by a kryptonite heart. So he poses as a real threat to Superman. So all he's got to do It's just open his chest and it's game over. And I've always wondered how Metallo would fit in the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner universe. So it looks like we are getting Metallo. Now, they haven't actually said whether or not the guy who's going to put on this suit is John Corbin. Now, for those of you who know Metallo's origin, he is, of course, John Corbin. And the one that I remember the most in the comic books was John Corbin worked as a reporter for the Daily Planet, and he was constantly trying his luck with Lois. And he got into a car accident. A scientist named Dr. Vale saved his life and made him into a cyborg, and the operation was secretly paid for by Lex Luthor. So, whether or not we'll see the Metallo we know in this series, time will tell. But yeah, it looks like we are definitely getting Metallo, and I like Metallo. He's one of my favorite Superman villains. He's in my top five. So it looks like the Soviet Union have put together a suit of sorts powered by the kryptonite crystal that was found at the beginning of issue one. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Metallo is going to look like in this series. Are they going to make him look like Terminator that we know? Probably not, but you never know. I do like that design very much so. But there you have it. Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, issue 1, off to a great start. And as I said, looks like we are getting Metallo as the main villain. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to adapt Metallo in this universe. So we're off to a great start. You know, nothing big or extravagant happened in this issue, unlike the first series, which signaled the arrival of Brainiac, who is my favourite Superman villain. So that was a very big deal for me. Metallo appearing in this universe is a big deal for me, but probably not as much of a big deal as Brainiac, because Brainiac has not really been featured in much media. I mean, he's been in the comics for like years, but you know, he's always taken a backseat to Lex Luthor. So I'm intrigued to see how they'll handle Metallo, but as I said, we're off to a pretty decent start. Not a lot of surprises in this issue. Lois getting herself into a jam. Superman saves her, of course. The kryptonite crystal lands in the Soviet Union. The Russian government have got hold of the kryptonite and have made a battle suit powered by the kryptonite, dubbing it Metallo. Whether or not we'll see the Metallo, we all know we'll see. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. Good, decent start. And you know, I've always enjoyed these tie-in comics to like movies or TV shows or games because you know they're a lot of fun and you know I quite like them. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, issue 1? Did you enjoy it? How do you think they're going to introduce Metallo into the Superman 78 universe? Do you think they'll go with the origin that we know? Do you think we'll see John Corbin in this universe? And what do the Soviet Union have planned for Superman? And what does the kryptonite crystal involve? What kind of role do you think it's going to play in this story arc? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for another edition of the comic book review series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.